Mr. Pip? Mr. Pocket?
Sir Alec Guinness. Millions of people know him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, the wise Jedi Master who guided Luke Skywalker. But decades before he ever picked up a lightsaber, Sir Alec Guinness was steering a military landing craft through one of the most dangerous operations in human history. On D-Day, while bullets flew and explosions shook the sea, the future Star Wars legend was helping deliver soldiers onto the beaches of Normandy. When people think about Sir Alec Guinness, they immediately remember Star Wars. His calm voice, wise personality, and unforgettable performance made him one of the most respected actors in cinema history. But long before Hollywood fame arrived, Alec Guinness was serving in the Royal Navy during World War II. Born in 1914, Guinness developed an interest in acting at a young age. However, when war broke out across Europe, many young British men put their personal ambitions aside and joined the military effort. Guinness entered naval service and eventually became the commander of a landing craft. Now, a landing craft might not sound impressive, but during D-Day, these vessels were among the most important machines in the entire invasion. Their mission was simple but deadly. Drive directly toward enemy-controlled beaches, open the front ramp, unload soldiers into battle, then return for more troops. On June 6, 1944, Operation Overlord began. More than 150,000 Allied troops crossed the English Channel to invade Nazi-occupied France. Alec Guinness was right there. His landing craft carried soldiers toward the Normandy coast under dangerous conditions. German defenses were firing from bunkers, machine gun nests, and artillery positions. Every trip toward the beach could have been the last. Unlike movie heroes who survive because a script demands it, these men faced real danger. Guinness later recalled how chaotic the operation felt. Thousands of ships filled the sea. Aircraft roared overhead. Explosions echoed across the coastline. Yet somehow the invasion succeeded. The bravery of naval crews like Guinness played a major role. After the war ended, he returned to acting. His talent quickly attracted attention. Over the following decades, he starred in classics like The Bridge on the River Kwai, Kind Hearts and Coronets, and Lawrence of Arabia. Then, in 1977, he accepted a role that would change his life forever, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ironically, Guinness initially had doubts about Star Wars. He worried the dialogue sounded strange, yet his performance became one of the most beloved in film history. Audiences saw him as a wise mentor. What many never realized was that the calm authority he brought to the screen may have been shaped by real experiences during wartime. Unlike many celebrities who constantly discussed their achievements, Guinness rarely bragged about his military service. He viewed it as something he simply had to do. That humility only increased public respect for him. Today, millions remember Sir Alec Guinness as a Jedi Master. But history remembers something else. A young naval officer who helped carry Allied soldiers into one of the most important battles ever fought. Before he taught Luke Skywalker about the Force, he helped fight for freedom in the real world. The next time you watch Star Wars, remember that Obi-Wan Kenobi once faced dangers far greater than the Death Star. Christopher Lee. When most people hear the name Christopher Lee, they think of Dracula, Saruman from Lord of the Rings, or Count Dooku from Star Wars. His deep voice, towering height, and intimidating presence made him one of the most recognizable actors in cinema history. But long before he terrified audiences on screen, Christopher Lee was involved in a real war, and some of what he did during World War II remained secret for decades. Christopher Lee was born in London in 1922. From an early age, he stood out. He was tall, intelligent, and fascinated by languages. As he grew older, nobody could have predicted that he would one day become one of the greatest horror actors ever. But before fame arrived, the world was thrown into chaos. World War II erupted across Europe. Like thousands of young British men, Christopher Lee volunteered for military service. He joined the Royal Air Force. At first, he hoped to become a fighter pilot. However, eyesight issues prevented him from flying combat missions. Many people would have been disappointed. Lee wasn't. Instead, he accepted a different role and continued serving his country. What happened next would shape the rest of his life. Christopher Lee became involved in intelligence operations. Now, intelligence work is very different from traditional warfare. Instead of charging enemy positions, intelligence officers gather information. They track enemy movements. They analyze plans. They help commanders make critical decisions. A single piece of information can save thousands of lives. That is why intelligence work is often kept secret. Lee served in several military assignments connected to Allied operations across Europe. Many historians believe he worked alongside highly specialized units. Although official records exist, some details remain unclear because wartime intelligence operations were rarely discussed publicly. What makes Christopher Lee fascinating is that he almost never talked about these experiences. Throughout his long acting career, journalists repeatedly asked him about the war. His answers were usually brief. Sometimes he would smile. Sometimes he would simply change the subject. One famous moment occurred during the filming of The Lord of the Rings. A director explained how a character should react after being stabbed. Lee quietly interrupted. He explained exactly what sound a person makes when they are stabbed. The room fell silent. When someone asked how he knew that, Lee simply moved on. No further explanation was needed. Moments like that created an aura of mystery around him. People realized that behind the actor stood a man who had seen things few could imagine. By 1944, Allied forces were preparing for D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history. Military intelligence played a crucial role in the operation. Commanders needed information about German defenses, troop movements, and strategic positions. Every accurate report increased the chances of success. Every mistake could cost thousands of lives. Christopher Lee's service supported the broader Allied war effort during this critical period. When the war finally ended in 1945, Lee returned to civilian life. Like many veterans, he had to rebuild his future from scratch. Acting became his new mission. At first, success came slowly. Studios often rejected him because of his unusual appearance. He was too tall, too intense, too different. But eventually those qualities became his greatest strengths. In 1958, everything changed. Lee starred in Dracula. The film became a sensation. His performance transformed horror cinema forever. Audiences had never seen a vampire like this before. Powerful, elegant, terrifying. Over the next several decades, Christopher Lee appeared in more than 250 films. He became one of the most prolific actors in history. He played villains, kings, wizards, and warriors. Yet no fictional role could fully match the mystery of his real-life wartime experiences. Unlike many celebrities who eagerly share personal stories, Lee remained remarkably private. Perhaps some memories were too painful. Perhaps some secrets were meant to stay buried. Or perhaps he simply believed that true service requires no applause. In interviews late in life, he often emphasized duty, discipline, and responsibility, values he learned during wartime, values that remained with him throughout his career. When Christopher Lee passed away in 2015, the world lost a legendary actor. But those who understood his history knew something more. Hollywood had not created Christopher Lee. War had shaped him first. The commanding voice, the calm confidence, the powerful presence. All of it came from a life far more extraordinary than any movie script. Before he became Dracula, Saruman, and Count Dooku, Christopher Lee was serving his country during one of history's darkest chapters. And some of his greatest stories may still be untold.